When I was 23, I was fortunate to have come across a man who gave me an opportunity. And he took me by the hand and guided me. And he showed me the other side. He showed me an alternative to doing crime. And because of that man, I'm a different man now. I have a beautiful wife. I have 3 boys and I have a beautiful girl. Sorry, not a beautiful girl yet. She's on the way. She's on the way. And this man not only showed me the other side, he placed tools at my disposal, and that made it much easier. This is Debajo, Muletsane, and he is 23 years old. That car you see is a place he calls home, which he shares with 2 other men. He's been living in it for a good year now, but he's been homeless for a good 5 years. I watched these men break down 50 rand, and that was a full meal. It was 3 loaves of bread, tin food, and a bag of bananas. And the 50 rand was one of the ones hustle. He made it elsewhere, and he came and he shared that meal with those men. This is Debajo. He's very good looking. He's got beautiful eyes. He left home when he was quite young. You know, peer pressure, poor family, they can't really provide. He runs the streets, he finds comfort in the wrong crowd. One thing leads to the next. Drugs, they escalate, banking school, and he started robbing people. And I guess with the drugs, it just went, and he found himself living on the streets. And now he's addicted. To get by, when begging doesn't work, he occasionally robs people. And that's the order of his day. He's very good also with his hands. He's good at fixing things. He wants to one day own a panel beating shop. What he does occasionally is go down to the Nigerian mechanic not far from where he stays, and he sometimes cleans up and just watches them fix cars, and he helps out where he can sometimes. But not all the time, because it doesn't really feed him. This is Pitos Msimang, and he's 54. He's been living on the streets for a good 22 years. He lost his job working in the mines. Around about the same time, he had an injury to his hand, and he couldn't work. At the same time, he got retrenched with many other men. Uneducated, he really couldn't provide, he couldn't get a job. He then thought the only alternative was crime. And in the process, he killed a man. And he's been running, I guess, with the depression and that whole thing of what he's done. He found himself living on the streets and for all these years. This is a picture of his hands where, on the right, shows where he had that injury. And he wanted to get involved in politics at the time. And he wasn't really educated, but he spoke well. And I guess it wasn't enough. This is Tumelo Sising, he's 15 years old. This guy is tougher than most grown men I know. And he's quite short, but physically he's got presence, and he intimidates a lot of his friends. He left home because of abuse. and with no one to turn to but friends. And I guess friends weren't giving him the best advice, and he ended up living on the streets. Drugs. Drugs. Tumelo occasionally also robs people. This is Tumelo waking up at 6 o'clock. Imagine waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a winter morning. Concrete. Imagine. This is them after they made a fire, sharing a BB, planning the day ahead. That's Tumelo, making it. It's as if this BB, from my observation, the way I watched it, the whole thing as it unfolded, it's like the meeting point, you know. They made the fire, and they all stood around the fire, and they waited for Tumelo to make this BB. They had just woken up, and they share this BB, and like they literally plan their day. I'm gonna go to that intersection, I'm gonna stand there for a couple of hours, and I'm gonna move from there. And the one gives the other one advice and says, no man, you should try this on Wednesdays, it's better, and so on. Just found it very interesting how they interact. Yanni, forgive my Afrikaans, it's not very good. Gemhees. Unfortunately, Yanni passed away early this year, and he was a qualified gourmet chef. He left Cape Town many years ago, 26 years ago. He followed his heart, he fell in love, and the girl's family gave the girl a choice to say, it's either him or you lose out on your inheritance. And Yanni, having left Cape Town as an artist, as a chef, and ended up in Bloemfontein only to be told that there's no love, you know. He started drinking, he went into a depression, he went into drugs, and he stopped being functional. And he just started moving around. Years later, he's still on the streets. And he died a lonely death, from what I was told, that he was lying in a parking lot somewhere, apparently, and he was wrapped up in his blanket. So from the looks of it, he died in his sleep. From ill health, some say he was starving, but so he was a qualified gourmet chef. Tato Musala, he's 16 years old. He's currently in hospital for ill health and malnutrition, diarrhea. He also, like Debajo and Tumelo, left home. A lot of these young men leave home. Most of them, it's peer pressure, but it's because of the support base they have at home that's not so strong. And they're young men, so their minds are nimble, easily influenced. Tato Low, he's 24 years old. This guy he should be a comedian. He's very funny. He's very funny. He just says things, he's quick with his tongue, the words are just sitting here. Tsepo. This guy's smile will light up any room. He's very quiet, but he doesn't say much. He's like a guru. He says, you know the guy that says less and says something dope? You know. Whatever he doesn't say much. Whatever he says is just dope, you know. Tabiso. Meets up. They call him Bo. Bo is he's a Bo because of his behavior. He calls the shots. He gets the young ones in. He teaches them the basics. Apparently, he tells them there's a word like "obafampi." The street word, like, let me give you the 411 on how we do things out here, kind of thing. And his family is not very poor. Somewhere along the line, it's very difficult talking to him, you know, because he's intoxicated a lot of the times. But from what they say is that his family is not very, it's upper middle class, and he just somehow, I don't know whether to call it a lifestyle, but he likes the streets. He likes the streets. Tabang. He's the fighter. He's the bodyguard to these group of friends, and to a point where he took some boxing classes at some stage, and I guess he got kicked out because, you know, he's addicted to glue. I'll tell you about glue a little bit later and what happens with glue and why it's so overpowering. And Yanni, he's 36. He is mentally challenged. He comes from a poor family, and he's the mentally challenged one. You know, no one understands him, so let him be, let him go. And he just went, and he comes from Tabanchu, and he's been in Bloem. And all he needs is help, you know, a therapist or something. He's mentally challenged. He's eating the crust of pap. They hang around local chesanyamas in town, and when the mamas are done cooking the pap, you know, there's crust. They clean it out, dustbin, and they wait there, and with their plastics, and they take that. A couple of bones for flavor, you know. Imagine taking crust and chewing on a bone for flavor, and then eating pap. Crust. Why I take images of these men and why I pay attention to them is I discovered once that beyond the filth and the stench and the intoxication of glue, there's a story, and there's a mind, there's someone's child, there's someone's brother, there's someone's father. And circumstances have put them there. And being poor I spend a lot of time with these men, and we have very strong, intimate connections. And I think I understand being poor in some way. If you don't have a guarantee of your next meal, and this is certain to you for the next 6 months of your life, you know that I might not have. My reality is that I am going to walk from bin to bin in town, and I'm going to take what's there and I'm going to eat. I'm going to find what's there, I'm going to carry on my back. These guys have their life in these big bags, things they collect. And over time, maybe I should tell you before it gets to that, circumstances lead them there. You know, you were too excessive with the alcohol. You lost your job, you went into a depression. You didn't study, or you didn't go to school, and you were uneducated, you couldn't find a job. You left a village, you came to the city. You couldn't find anything. People were not willing to take you in, of course. You're a man, you need to fend for yourself. And when you can't provide, and especially if you have people to provide for, that's a lot of stress. And with depression. Now imagine stress, poverty, and depression. And you know, stress, it alters your physique. It alters your weight. It alters, the way your skin looks, your behavior, Now take that, and with the knowledge of not having a meal, and as a man, when you cannot provide, when you literally cannot provide, and we cannot provide, it does something to you. You find comfort in substances. If you don't find the right help at the right time, that escalates. These men have brains and they work. They just need someone that will lend them an ear. More than just lending an ear, they need someone that will place the tools at their disposal. Had I not received the help I did, I most probably would have been dead or in prison. And yeah.